What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Scotty Talks NBA. This is a very special edition. I'm streaming on DSM Media Philadelphia channel as well as the Scotty Talks NBA channel. We had a big NBA trade deadline today. Depends how you view each trade, right? Whether you consider it a big deadline, not the biggest names moved, but there were some big moves to be made. And some teams got better, some teams maybe got a little worse. But we'll get into that throughout this show. Definitely want to introduce my co-host here at Zach Noble. Be sure to give him a follow on X. I'm going to start calling it by X. That's what it's called now. It's not Twitter anymore. I'm going to update myself with the modern day. But welcome back to the show, my man. How you doing, Zach?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. It was a lot of action today, but not it's quantity over quality, we'll say.
There we go.
Not what I was hoping for.
There we go. That's a great way to put it, my man. Yeah. So let's start there, right? What moves were made today? Some of the bigger ones that I noticed. And if I miss any, Zach, that you maybe want to point out, feel free to add in here. But obviously the Knicks. Knicks made some moves today. Traded for Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Detroit Pistons. They give up Quentin Grimes, Malachi Flynn, Evan Fournier, Archie excuse me the way I'm pronouncing that. I know I'm not pronouncing that right. And 2 second-round picks. So that's what the Knicks were able to do. They're able to bring in a 20-point scorer in Bojan Bogdanovic, and then a spark plug type of guy off the bench in Alec Burks. But once again, just adding depth to their roster. I really like what the Knicks did here. You go to the Sixers, right? The Sixers were all over the place today. My man Marshawn Lynch. Hey, we're going to get into this today. We're going to get into this on this show for sure. And we have some outside perspective because Zach, he's not a Sixers fan. He's going to keep it real with us. So what he says, you can take it with no bias, right?
Right.
But yeah, it's hard to understand what Daryl Morey was doing today, but let's just list it out. Traded for Buddy Hield, right? He traded Marcus Morris, Furkan Korkmaz, 3 second-round picks, sends them out to Indiana. You get Buddy Hield in return for that. Then they send out Daniel House plus a second-round pick to the Detroit Pistons for just cash considerations. It created a trade exception or something like that, financial. Had great financial implications. That's what the Sixers were apparently trying to do, get under the tax cut here. So you look at what else they did. This is where it gets confusing after trading, draft compensation, right? Marcus Morris, whatever. Furkan Korkmaz, whatever. You trade the draft compensation, which 3 seconds, I mean, not a huge deal to me if you're going all in with the thought in mind that Embiid is returning this season and you're adding Buddy Hield, a floor spacer to an Embiid-led team, right? So they trade the draft compensation, but then they go and they trade Jaden Springer. And it's not that, Jaden Springer is like my favorite player on earth or my favorite Sixer ever. He's a solid player. He has a very specific skill set, and you ship him to a team where they can use him very sparingly, but they can use him in the right moments for him, right? Maybe it's a 5-minute spurt in the playoffs where they can just throw Jaden Springer on a guy like Tyrese Maxey now, right? You give Boston your direct competition in the Eastern Conference. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's like this monumental upgrade, but it's an option for Boston, right? And then you go to Milwaukee, and I think this is the bigger travesty, in my opinion, is trading Patrick Beverley. Like, the dude's on a minimum contract. You're trading him, but this is where it really you're trading Patrick Beverley. He's on a minimum contract, but you refuse to move Tobias Harris. Like, you're selling, right? You're selling Patrick Beverley for that second-round pick because it certainly wasn't for campaign, right? You're selling Jaden Springer for a second-round pick, but you're not going to trade Tobias Harris where you could get draft compensation in return for that, the $30 million contract. Doesn't make sense to me quite literally at all. But moving on. We had Olynyk from the Jazz go to the Toronto Raptors. This was interesting. Olynyk and Ochai Agbaji go to the Raptors for Kyra Lewis, Otto Porter Jr., and a 2024 first-round pick. So a kind of a hefty price for Kelly Olynyk, but you get Ochai Agbaji. I don't know how you feel about that one.
Loved it, man.
That was an
Loved it.
interesting one. You love that
Big,
one?
yeah.
Tell me your thoughts on that one. I'm interested here.
So Ochai's been in this clusterfuck in Utah. Okay, so I was
Yeah,
really high on Ochai coming in. I mean, I'm a Kansas guy and everything. Watched every game in his career. Ochai, I mean, when he's been getting consistent minutes, he does consistent things, and he's one of those guys that needed an opportunity. I mean, he's pretty polished for a guy with sparing minutes here and there, but like he just he wants a defined role. He needs to know what his role
yeah,
is, as do most young players. I mean,
yeah.
if you're giving him
Gotta find your
10 minutes
footing.
a game and it's 10 minutes in a row, that sort of thing, if you need him 15, 20, I personally think he has a long upside to go. He's got a lot of untapped potential. I think he
Yeah,
has OG and an OB upside. He's that type of player, more athletic even. Um, I think I mean, he could end up better than him.
yeah,
He could be better than Grady Dick, better than RJ Barrett. I think that's there. But in Utah, half those guys on that team were never going to reach their full potential. That team's only having success right now for literally, I'll go three reasons. One, Will Hardy. I mean, getting these guys to buy in to
yeah,
the system, playing team basketball, and how a style of play, but he's not developing. These guys aren't really developing. Keontae George, he's another one of them. Taylor Hendricks, like they have so many guys that need to be developed. They're not developing
yeah,
shit besides Laurie Markkinen,
yeah.
who's already been developed.
Wasted
Um,
minutes with Jordan
yeah,
Clarkson, guys like that,
right.
right? You know
So
what
you,
they're
you
gonna
got
do.
enough depth and talent, and you got a great coach so you can stay mediocre and compete, but like they're not increasing your
Yeah,
upside. And so
yeah,
what the Jazz did, I was pretty impressed. They consolidated a decent amount. They're picking and choosing players they want to build with for the rest of this year, and hopefully they can pick a role, pick a um, style of play and guys to develop. And I just want to see a direction out of this team to hopefully fit with Laurie and Colin Sexton for the long term, because those are the only two long term guys I think the organization believes in right now. Like Walker
yeah,
Kessler sent him to the bench. What the hell is that? I mean, he should be
yeah.
starting every game. Hopefully, he is now. Kelly Olynyk's
Now that
gone, but
Olynyk's gone, yeah.
um,
Maybe they were trying
there's
to get
just
his trade value up, but
right, and it's like John Collins is still like I still believe in John Collins, but he's not doesn't have no idea what his
he's
job
not
is
worth
there.
he's not worth stunning somebody else's development for the future when
Correct.
he's a contribute now type of play. I get exactly what you're
But you're
saying about
stunting John Collins' confidence and growth as well. I mean, it's basically
yeah,
like sending Tobias Harris to the bench.
yeah.
And similar to, I think his confidence would be absolutely depleted at this point in time if you sent him to the bench.
That is true. Yeah.
But with that said, I mean, I think they made some decent moves, even though they lost that trade. I don't think they necessarily lost it. They got a first back, and they just didn't really buy into Ochai long term. So they got a
Yeah.
first back. Good for them. But Kelly Olynyk, I mean, should have been able to benefit a contender. You think you'd have got two separate deals there versus sending him
Yeah,
um,
that's what I was
as a
hoping.
add-on. I mean, it was cap filler, you can say a little bit, but
It
um,
is weird. So, like, from the Raptors' perspective, they've now, I believe it was, I read this on Twitter, consecutive seasons, they've spent a first round pick on a center, right? Jakob Podol and now Kelly Olynyk in back to back seasons, which is interesting. I don't
you
know.
got to think though they didn't spend that on Kelly Olynyk. That was more so for Ochai.
Fair,
Um,
fair. You do get Ochai. That is something to remember there because I know at
yeah,
first it was reported only Olynyk. They didn't really have the Abaji part added on to it. So that is a good part to keep mentioning there. But
do you want?
yeah, Olynyk was somebody that I was hoping the Sixers would go after to kind of fill in for Embiid. And even when Embiid would get back, I think he's a great fit next to him. But we see that did not come into fruition. What
You
about
mentioned
OKC's
this.
move? What about OKC's move
Okay,
with
we'll
Gordon
come back to the
Hayward?
Sixers, but
Yeah, we're gonna come back
yeah,
to the Sixers. We'll spend
all
some
right.
time there. That's why I'm saving it for you. Uh,
I loved it, man. The Thunder move. I mean, they literally gave up trash. They gave up Davis Bertans, Miocic, who
yeah,
isn't doing anything or playing, and then
Trey Man.
Trey Man. Yeah, and
Yeah,
Trey Man. I mean, some people believe in he has good six-man potential. I never was a Trey Man believer. I'm glad they were on my side and kind of
Yeah,
ruled
get a
against them.
win
Like,
now, player.
so I was technically, you could say I'm right on Trey Mann so far. I've been wrong on Ochai a little bit because Utah doesn't necessarily believe in him and is going away from him. So there's both sides of the coin there. But Gordon Hayward, a lot of people think he's really washed. I do not. I think he's a little demotivated right now.
Yeah,
I think he does have a decent amount left in the tank, but I mean, he's definitely not himself. He's 33 years old and
yeah,
came through injuries, but he's still shooting good percentages, 47, 36, 77. And this is a demotivated Gordon.
yeah.
Um,
And that's
decent,
that's the thing. That's the thing with Gordon, and it's the same thing with a lot of players, man. Like, if you're on the Charlotte Hornets,
right?
things are gonna look a lot different when you join a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? When you're playing with
Yep.
SGA and Lou Dort and Josh Giddey, like different types of playmakers that they have there. Jalen Williams, right? Those type of guys that can space the floor for him. He's gonna fit right in, man. He's just another playmaker, ball handler. He brings a little bit of size and he brings veteran leadership too. I think that's something that team needs, man.
I look at the Gordon Hayward move as something kind of like um, uh, Mike Mike Conley. Like he's starting to decline his last
Yeah,
year in Utah, and it comes to Minnesota. Revamped this year. I mean, he was even not very good at the end of the last year, but you put the cat back in the lineup, talent lineup, off season to gel with these guys. He's back to being excellent Mike Conley. So he's revamped there, you can say. Another guy that was coming to mind, like Kelly Oubre, for instance. I mean, look
yeah,
at what he's doing in Philadelphia. The list goes on of guys like that have plenty in the tank that just needed to a new home and
yeah.
to be rejuiced. Like he's not
And
going to get back to All Star form, nor do they
take
need
some of
him
that
to.
responsibility off his shoulders as well, right? Like he's asked to
Yeah.
do more in Charlotte than what he's going to be asked to do in OKC.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. It will be interesting to see if they start him. I personally think they should try, but I'm trying to think who would they even take out of there right now. Um, I mean, like move Dort to the bench, Case and Wallace games that
Yeah,
I'd love to make keep Dort in the lineup, make Josh Giddey the sixth man. Um, I really thought they should have
the
looked to.
playmaker off the bench.
Yeah, I really thought they should have looked to move Josh Giddey, but um, maybe they think he can still get better, or they like him enough there because I think he's their weak spot right now. I
That's
really
kind of
do.
the skill overlap, right? With Hayward, like he's the skill overlap,
Yeah,
except Hayward's probably a better scorer.
a better shooter, better scorer.
Yeah,
Giddy's just a passer, playmaker. Giddy's probably equal. He's an equal defender. And size wise, they're I mean essentially the same exact size. It's just a little. Gordon's a really intelligent player, passer. It's just I think Giddy needs more usage to actually have his value versus Gordon can be more of a connector.
yeah. No, I agree with that. It's more of a fit thing. Let's look at Dallas, man. Dallas was pretty active today as well. They were able to trade for Daniel Gafford from the Washington Wizards. That was for Rashawn Holmes and some draft compensation. Then they make a trade to Charlotte for PJ Washington, for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a first round pick. What are your thoughts there on the Dallas Mavericks? Um, do you think that they improved? What are your thoughts there? How much did
I,
they improve if you think so?
I was reading a lot of people yesterday, like questioning Mark Cuban if he should be still running the team, and if he's the guy, and if they're just gonna sit on their hands, which most of them were thinking they weren't gonna do shit. But this was a very surprising move out of left field, and I mean they had to work to get it. It looks like I mean they gave up a very fair and maybe overpaid a little bit. They obviously that won the trade because I guarantee they weren't the only team competing for PJ Washington. I think he's one of those guys that's a steal. I mean, you can compare him to like John Collins when he was on the market and they're looking for a compensation for him, or I just think that's a comparable situation. But
What's the
different.
what's the negative with PJ Washington? What what
I
what
don't.
would you say is the negative with him?
I mean, it's looking at his stats is the negative. It's, do you believe his stats are real? And if you think they're real, that's a negative thing, because I think he's better than his stats right now. I just think he was suffering due to Brandon Miller a little bit.
Yeah.
I would think he's a guy that's suffering from lack of LaMelo not being there a little bit, and Miles Bridges coming back. Um, but at the same sense, like, is that gonna transfer over? I think this move can only make him better, because I believe PJ Washington is the not maybe not the 39% three-point shooter he was in year 2, but I mean, he's at least his career average of 36%. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's that guy. And if you can get that guy, and you can get lucky and get him up to 38%, I personally think he'll be shooting 38%, because you put him in this lineup, I think he's a flawless fit.
Yeah.
Girth
Like
wise,
this is
you're
what
a,
they wanted out of Christian Wood, right? Like this
yeah,
is this
yeah,
is the player
great
that they're
comp,
looking for.
great comp. And there's so much untapped potential here. I truly believe it. This guy doesn't need a lot of usage. I think he fits perfectly, and Gafford was a great pickup. Like,
Yeah, I agree
Seth
with that as
Curry,
well.
they weren't
Gafford.
playing him the way they needed to, and he was not doing shit for him. Grant Williams was playing; he was doing fine, but he's not
Yeah.
PJ Washington either. Like, this is an
Yeah.
upgrade.
Yeah.
And anybody who's disagreeing on a first round pick, like, it's not like he's got some hefty contract. What are they
Right.
paying him here? Um, he's got one more. This is last year of his deal. No, he's got 2 more years left. Okay, sorry. But he is very underpaid at 15 million the next two. That's a steal in this next
Yeah.
in
For
this
a player of
environment right
with
now.
his skill set. Yeah, for his size, his skill set,
There's a
that is a
question
steal,
pop of,
man.
does this move the needle for Luca though? Yeah, we got to start answering some of these questions. I guess they're popping up. I think it does. I think it helps. It makes his team better. I mean, it should motivate him a little bit, because you got a guy that has the potential of dropping 43. I know it's in a shitty team, but he's young doing that. Um, I think he's got more defensive potential. I'm not guaranteeing that, but
Yeah.
Gafford's an excellent replacement for Derek Lively if he ever goes down, and you keep him as the number 2 versus going back to the other guys, as you never know what Jason Kidd, what he's going to do there. But it's, you got to be, crazy not to try Gafford out, because he's
Yeah.
been
I
pretty
I
damn
thought
good at his
Gafford
peak.
was a steal. Yeah, and that's the thing. The Mavericks didn't really give up anything to get these
Right.
guys.
These are
Like, I
good.
mean, Grant Williams, but like you said, that's an upgrade to PJ Washington. And like I feel like you could argue this is maybe the best team that's been around Luca.
Yeah. Oh, it is
Like
100%.
easily, right? Like
100,
Kyrie Irving is
100%.
healthy.
They actually have upside too. They have upside.
Yeah,
And I think with losing, I mean, nah, I shouldn't say that, because you got two players that you're kind of playing, in Seth and Grant Williams, or you should have been playing Seth more.
yeah,
And you got two guys back that play. So it wasn't a consolidation deal, because you got Gafford back as well. Um, yeah, I believe in this team a little more versus being like a fringe second round team. I think they're for sure, they have second round potential now, and depending how good these guys get, Lively and PJ Washington shortly, I think they can do damage. I mean, they just got, it's all about defense for these guys, and these are defensive moves in my opinion compared to what they have. I think
yeah,
PJ can
yeah.
cover bigger guys than Grant Williams can. You can call me wrong on that. That's up for debate. Um, there's an inch and a half difference there, but I like the wingspan too to go with that.
What about this Royce O'Neal trade to the Phoenix Suns. How did you feel about that? Look, I believe it was for 3 second-round picks from Brooklyn to Phoenix. Do you think that this is a needle moving type of deal for the Phoenix Suns, like that having that type of role player?
Listen, I mean, some people will talk you into saying Royce O'Neal was a bigger deal than PJ Washington. It's not even close. Not even close.
Well, I
And
was
I
told
think
that
it's
campaign is an upgrade to Patrick Beverly as
yeah,
well
we'll get
too.
into that garbage here in a little bit. We'll talk G League pain in a little bit. 3-point percentage from Royce O'Neal, like this is the lowest it's ever been in his career since his rookie year. But again, that's in Brooklyn. Not great spacing, not a very good coach. I expect Royce Williams, much like PJ Washington, get it back up here. Hopefully, adds defense for Phoenix. Um, Bad habits can kind of stick once you get in that cycle. But yeah, it's 3 seconds is about as much as Mavs are cooked. Um, I would love to know why he thinks that, but I mean, it's not like they were going to make any bigger deal. Are the Mavs going? What should it be? Championship? Luca's got a long time to go. As long as they make the playoffs here, and you got to see one round with Kyrie and Luca. This would be their first year together, so
Yeah,
like the crazy talk
Kyrie's
of
locked in
people
for what, 3 years?
even remotely thinking about getting rid of Kyrie this year too was wild because this is literally their first full year of playing together. Um, I do love that the memes of Kyrie looking down the bench at Grant Williams like this immature goofball, and it's like, dude, you're looking at your twin, just a different, I don't know, weirdness. It's a different weird. You both are weird.
This is
But back to
interesting, man. Like, Luca, is this gonna become a conversation if things do go south in the
it
playoffs?
will,
Like,
yes,
what do
but
you
he's
if you're
got a
the
better
Mavericks,
team
what do you
now.
trade him for? Like, there's
Stop.
nothing
We're
you
not
can
getting there.
trade
We're
me.
not going there right now.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
No,
yeah, it's blowing my mind because
there is
it's
the
the same
top,
thing with Ann Edwards. Like, I'm not if I'm the organization, I'm not trading you. Like, I'm not. But the NBA is different from the NFL and things work differently here. So I
bro.
say
You're
that, but you just
you're
never
getting
know, man.
caught up and realizing you need to trade Embiid, and then you're bringing everybody else's world into your problems right now. Leave me
Yeah.
alone.
Embiid is the only we're way closer to Embiid doing that than either of those guys. But yeah.
I will say this though, the Luca, you're right. I mean, they need to get higher than the 8 seed they are right now. I like the moves they made. They still could have done a lot more,
Yeah.
but they did more than other teams that needed to do more. So,
That's
kudos
fair enough.
to Mark Cuban and the rest of the team. But because it wasn't a very crazy deadline, but I mean, you always can do more. But they won both trades. So back to Royce O'Neal. 3 seconds was
Yeah.
as much as you're ever going to get for Royce O'Neal. I mean, you could have got a highly protected first, maybe, but that's a stretch. I think 3 seconds. He's 30 years old, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think he's on an expiring deal. But Royce O'Neal should be an upgrade to their defense as long as he's not carrying those bad habits over. And on top of that, you're taking him away from everybody else that needed Royce O'Neal. That's
Yeah.
another thing. Like that's why
Yeah.
you give up 3 seconds. So the Clippers don't go get him.
Yeah. That's a
The
good
Mavs
point.
don't go get him.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. Because the Mavs could have definitely used a player like him as well, man, especially on the defensive side of things.
I was surprised though Keita Bates Diop didn't do anything for him this year. And then Yuta, I mean, I thought he was gonna
Yeah.
have a good year. It's like the Suns and the Lakers bench, I was way higher on before the year, and that's I mean, again, that comes down to just who the leadership not having a point guard is a problem in Phoenix,
Yeah.
and that's why those guys aren't thriving.
They should have upgraded to a campaign. Ah, yeah. Before we move to the Sixers, because I do want to get your thoughts there, man. I want to go back up to the New York Knicks because we didn't stop there and allow you to share your thoughts on that. Um, I'll tell you now, I kind of feel like the Knicks won the trade deadline. And I don't know, maybe I'm like factoring in OG into that as well, and thinking about that too much, and thinking about what the Knicks have kind of built here with their depth. But they ultimately add Bojan Bogdanovic today. They add Alec Burks. They ultimately send out Quentin Grimes, which that's probably the one guy that was in their rotation, a vital piece to their rotation. But you bring in two guys that you can add to the rotation, and a guy that is going to be a bigger part of the team ultimately in Bojan Bogdanovic. You also trade out Malachi Flynn. You trade out Evan Fournier, 2 second-round picks. What are your thoughts here, man? I told you, I think that they may have won the deadline with this move just because of what they actually gave up to get a guy like Bojan Bogdanovic, a 20-point scorer, a guy that can space the floor. And he adds a specific skill set to their team. I think they definitely upgraded. But what are your thoughts here on the Knicks? And let me also throw this caveat question to you. What is their ceiling now? Does their ceiling rise?
Oh, it is rising, baby. The Knicks are in the business. Like the
They
Knicks
are,
were
man. They are.
they were this fun team. Just a lot of questioning over the last couple years of Tom Thibodeau, and obviously playing too much, not developing these young guys. And I mean, I always gave Tom his credit for overachieving with these teams, I thought, and getting the most out of them, but also underachieving by not developing these guys like Quentin Grimes and waiting forever. So, I mean, a couple things with this development. It's one, I want to say the Knicks have done a tremendous job of selling when they did.
Yeah.
They did a bad
Yeah.
job, like I said, of not playing these guys and developing them the way they should. However, they chose their guys, and when they realized they didn't think they could develop them anymore, they didn't lose value on any of these guys, I don't think. I truly believe that at my core. I debated that a lot today. I think they sold at the right time on all these guys,
Yeah.
gave them a fair shot, time wise, but not like opportunity wise.
Yeah.
Um, and they've done a tremendous job of finding guys in these trades that fit what they're trying to do, how Tom Thibodeau is trying to coach,
Yeah.
and
That's
that
a good point.
fits around Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson at their absolute peaks right now. They are peaking. You're capitalizing. All these other teams need to take note of this. I mean, so many teams wait too long. So many teams try to um, not do anything and wait for these guys to develop on their own without doing the right things for them. Like, I loved everything about this build looking back on it now, because
Yeah.
they did it their way and it's working out.
Yeah.
So with that said, I mean,
And it
yeah,
wasn't the typical like New York route, right? Of going out. I mean,
yeah,
obviously they started with Jalen Brunson. They went in threw the bag at him, but outside of that, it wasn't a bunch of star chasing per se, right?
no,
They got
no,
guys that fit right.
yeah, I absolutely love the entire fit of this team, and I do think Quentin Grimes, call me crazy, is gonna get better than he is right now. I
Yeah,
mean,
I like his game a lot. When I first saw the trade, I forget what it was saying, but it was something like Quentin Grimes for a second round pick or something. And it didn't connect with me. And then they finally broke down the entire trade details and it made a lot more sense. But Quentin Grimes, he's definitely he's a quality piece, right? To have even on a contender with the 3-and-D capability. Let me ask you this. Are the Knicks the third best team in the East now? Like, do you look at them clearly over the Cavs per se?
all right. So OG Anunoby's coming back. They probably wouldn't have made this deal if he wasn't for sure coming back. I think they should have made it regardless. Just like I think the Sixers should have made bigger deals regardless, because Embiid, there's all the rumors saying he's coming back at some
Yeah,
point this year. So it doesn't matter when
what
he's
they
coming
saying.
back. Like OG, same situation, similar, even though two way different
Yeah,
players
I get your point though.
and quality. But yeah, for title chance and whatnot. But Boston, I still give edge to chemistry, up high end stars, but depth, team chemistry. This Knicks team gelling. They know what
Yeah.
they're doing. They know how to play. Like, you could argue this Knicks team plays better together than the Celtics right now. It's
Yeah.
just the talent on the Celtics exceeds the fit. Um, a gun to my head, I'm still picking Milwaukee, but I think the Knicks are just as good.
Yeah.
Um, just as good. I mean, I'd say
That's
that
crazy.
series goes 6 or 7 at the moment. Both teams fully healthy. I think Nick's got a great chance, and it should be almost an even line in Vegas.
Yeah.
Cleveland's playing better than anybody in the East right now, but I think come playoff time that changes. And um, with the new additions the Knicks made, definitely think the Knicks. I'd give edge to the Knicks, even though they even beat Cleveland last year.
Yeah.
So that
And
matters.
Jalen Brunson, I mean, there's just something about that dude where, if there's like a reasonable chance of the Knicks winning, I'm pretty sure he's going to get them there. That's what, as a Sixers fan, that's what worries me the most about this Jalen Brunson led Knicks team. They got a tough nosed coach, they got a tough nosed star player, and they got a bunch of dogs around them,
Yeah.
guys that can play physical, play aggressive. They're a dangerous team, man, and I think that speaks to how far this team has come. And you look at the guys they brought in, a Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks. These are guys that are going to go right into their rotation, but they're on expiring deals. Like, I know Bojan has an option for next year. You can opt out of that and get out of that contract for the most part going into next season. So even if this doesn't work, if they hate these guys, they're fit on the roster, you didn't really lose anything. I mean, Quentin Grimes,
Yeah.
that hurts a little bit, but for a chance at this season, because I think that's the big thing, you get OG back. Embiid is injured, right? Like, that is a
Yep.
thing in the Eastern Conference. You have a strong chance of getting where you want to get to. So, if it's the Celtics that you feel is like the only team in your way, that's a really good chance, right?
No, that's a great chance.
So
I mean,
it
the
is
depth is
impressive what the Knicks did, honestly, today. I think they leapfrogged a couple teams clearly. Like, there is a legitimate argument even with Embiid back, and you may feel this is not even an argument, right? With Embiid back, the Knicks are better than the Sixers.
it's really close. It
It's
is really
close.
close.
It's
I like
close
it's like Milwaukee. I mean, but um, I just the Knicks play better as a
as a
team, and the
team.
Dogs
Yeah,
Boyan coming in, bona fide playoff guy. He's clutch. He knows how to get it done in the playoffs. So when Julius struggles for a game or two, you can sit his ass, you know.
yeah.
And
It's a
Boyan can
good
play.
point.
OG can come in. Dante DiVincenzo is
Uh,
blossoming now. Josh Hart, like, you got these guys. So when Julius struggles in his inevitable bad couple of games, which, I mean, you make that choice depending on how bad it is. But, like, I like Boyan's defense just as much as Julius yet. Um, I think he's still got a decent amount in the tank, and yeah, I mean, I see situations where this can get it done with or without Julius for against most
yeah,
teams. Um,
yeah.
and just like your boys, I mean, they could have used Boyan. I mean, they could. I
Man,
mean,
that's what kills me, man. It's what kills me. It feels like we were, right here from going all in and doing everything that we were supposed to this deadline. And, I don't know if it was the Knicks that came in and swooped under us with Quentin Grimes, and that was the player that the Pistons wanted. I know they wanted Tobias from us, man. And once again, like I said at the
you don't
beginning of
give
the show,
Tobias to the Knicks. I'm sorry. I mean, you
huh?
don't give. I wouldn't give Tobias to the Knicks, man.
No, no, not to the Knicks, to the Pistons.
Right.
To the
Yeah.
Pistons.
No, listen,
For Bojan.
Daryl Morey, like, as much as I like almost every deal he's made besides the Patrick Beverly deal, like,
Yeah.
I want to start by saying this. I like every addition Daryl Morey has made if you're just trying to be good and get a team that fits around Embiid. Like, he has missed out on so many guys that flips you over the edge and
Yeah.
makes you a real
Yeah.
contender, and it gives you
I
exactly
agree
what
with
this
that.
team needs. Like, he's going by what you kind of want and what you need versus what you really want and what Embiid wants, and that would actually fuel this team. Like, I mean, then you rip the heart and soul of Patrick Beverly and you send him to a team where he can be pissed
Yeah,
and come at
that
you and take some cheap shots,
that's
and
what
he
it
won't
does
give
for me, man.
zero fucks.
Because you know what the like you just my thing is like you just don't do deals with Boston and Milwaukee. Like there's rules, right? There's rules of engagement, and you just don't do deals with Boston and Milwaukee. Like I don't care what it really is, unless you're getting the benefit
Yeah.
from those teams from the Sixers' perspective. I'm not doing it. I'm not giving Jaden Springer. I don't know your thoughts on him. He's a guy that's not
I think
talented
you're making
very
too big
much
of a
on
deal on that,
offense.
but
He's a guy that is good on defense. He's shown signs there. But the biggest thing for me is you send him to Boston where it can potentially haunt you. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. It doesn't mean that it will happen. It could. And that's why I don't like it. If you want to trade
right.
Springer for a second, trade him out west. I'm sure they can use a perimeter defender out there as well. Like, I don't get why it goes to Boston. And then the same thing with Milwaukee, man, because if Embiid, does come back this season, the Sixers magically make it to like the
Yeah.
second round or whatever it would take to play Boston or Milwaukee. You know that they're going to throw Pat Bev. They're going to throw even Jaden Springer if it's for 5 minutes on Tyrese Maxey to give him hell. And I don't understand it, man. That type of stuff bothered me. And I think it just bothers me more. One, you trade for Buddy Hield, which I like the Buddy Hield fit, especially when Embiid comes back. You trade for him and give up draft compensation,
But listen,
but then you trade out uh, for more draft compensation. Like you're going in, but I don't know. Did you think that the Sixers got better?
like I said, I've liked every move he's ever made besides the Pat Beverly deal. Like
It's a culture thing, man.
Jaden Springer is a zero to me. Like yes, I get the whole Boston, the hate, the rivalry thing, and uh, the thing is that bench is weak,
Yeah,
and Jaden Springer could actually get an opportunity, and maybe he actually got some game. And I actually kind of liked him in college, but he will have more spacing there. He will have
yeah.
um, probably more open look, so maybe his shot gets a little better too. But Buddy Hield's great. You didn't need Buddy Hield. You needed more of a ball handler, more of a playmaker, and defense. And um, I think the team had enough scoring. I really did. And you gave away the guy with the top 3 defensive EPM since 2017,
Yeah.
which I value that statistic a lot. Truly think Pat Beverly's a difference maker. Like, I still think Patrick Beverly would hold a lot of value in Minnesota
Yeah.
to that Rudy Gobert trade. Like, I still think
Phoenix.
Patrick Beverly.
I mean,
Every team needs
yeah,
Patrick Beverly. I
any
truly
team.
believe that. He's one of those
It's
guys that
odd,
fits
man.
and is a need on every team. Um, but waited too long to trade Thibault. Yeah, I agree. Thibault is kind of like um, Quentin Grimes
Yeah.
today, but like Quentin Grimes actually showed he could hit some big shots and space the floor a little bit. Okay, now with campaign, I'm like the biggest
Yeah.
campaign hater you'll ever
Yeah.
see.
Talk to me about campaign because
I
you
don't think
got
he's
me
an
hip to
NBA player.
campaign.
Yeah, I don't think he's an NBA player, but he surprises me from time to time. He's one of those guys that can. Yeah, he's shooting 40% from three. Okay, I mean that's something. But I just don't like go. He goes from 27% from three to 30% to three from 32%. He's had 3 years of his 8-9 year career of being a good 8 years, year 9 right now, of being a decent 3-point shooter, and he's often injured. He's terrible in the clutch. Um, just not a very smart dude. I mean, I
That's
think
what
he gets
worries me.
I think he gets
It's the
known for
IQ.
like look at his playoffs. He shoots 32% from three in the playoffs. Has 1 year of shooting decent from three in the playoffs this last year. Um, I don't know. Like I've never been a campaign guy, and More dance moves than points. Yeah, absolutely. He's a great dancer.
Like, the
Very good dancer.
campaign thing for me, honestly, it's like Bev, by all means, he wasn't the greatest or the best flowing offensive player ever, right? He wasn't the greatest offensive player by any means, but I think what's getting misconstrued here is that Pat Bev was starting to get asked to step out of what was meant to be his role on the team, right? He's starting to play 30 plus minutes in a game. That's not Pat Bev's role on a championship team at the age of 35. His role is 15, 18 minutes a night where he can be a high impact player for those amount of minutes. And I think that's what's getting misconstrued in this deal. It's not that, if you think Campaign is a better player than Pat Bev, sure, whatever. I mean, if you want to argue 6 points per game versus 6 points per game, we could sit here and do that like all day and pick out all the different metrics that benefit one or the other. But the one thing that I'll say is like the culture that Pat Bev brought, the dog mentality. And
Right.
I heard, I was listening to Philadelphia radio today. Went to Wawa earlier, get a coffee. And they're talking about how, how do we know that Pat Bev was a leader in the locker room because of his podcast? It's not about his podcast. That's a cool feature for the city. It's a
Right.
cool feature wherever he goes. It's not about the podcast. It's about how his teammates talk about him.
Right.
That's where you learn what Pat Bev is about. That's how you learn that Pat Bev is a leader in the locker room, is when you hear Embiid talk about him, you hear Maxey talk about him, you hear Tobias talk about him. That shows you how much input he had in the locker room, no matter what his averages were on the season, man. And for a team like the Sixers that I've just like watched crumble mentally, playoff series after playoff series, I'm not saying that Pat Bev is like that guy that's going to get you over the hump. I'm not saying that.
Right.
But you can fortify your fort, right? By giving yourself more dog mentality, giving yourself more toughness. And I just feel like they didn't do that. They brought in Campaign, who, sure, he might be able to handle the ball better than Patrick Beverley. He's not going to be better defensively. He's not going to have a better IQ when he steps on the basketball court. And I'm just imagining, bro. I'm imagining like Cameron Payne, like Kelly Oubre, and like Tobias Harris on the court at the same time. And then, don't even dare throw D-Melt back in the equation here. And you have all four of those guys on the court at the same time. All four guys that, for my money, don't have the greatest basketball IQs in the world.
Yep.
And what are you going to get as a product, man? I'm not excited for it, man. Like, at the end of the day, Bev was not great offensively, but he was an organizer. He at least had the offense organized. He tried to run plays and have everything ordered. I'm just worried we're going to get Campaign out here jacking.
Second chance points, deflections, just being in the right spots at the right time. Like, all those things add up. Those things matter. I mean, Campaign, the only thing you can argue Campaign does slightly better is shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And go look at playoff numbers. I like Pat Bev's playoffs numbers way better. Pat's averaged 11 a couple times in the playoffs. Campaign's average 9. Efficiency leans towards Pat Bev as well. And more PTO for Anthony Melton. Fun.
What do you think about it from this perspective? So all the rumors, they're going to try to bring in Kyle Lowry.
He's so washed, man. He's so washed. Is he an upgrade
to Bev?
He's about this. He's equal value as Pat Bev outside of defense. I still think Pat Beverley's a little better defender, but Kyle Lowry's much better than Campaign. I will say that.
Yeah.
Kyle Lowry's much better than Campaign. Shooting wise, Kyle Lowry, man's been so inconsistent off and on. I mean, his numbers this year are
38%,
slightly better than last year. I shouldn't say slightly, a lot better than last year. But assists have gone down. Rebounds have gone down from last year. But efficiency shooting wise, Lowry's been better. I'm okay. Lowry, Pat Bev, it doesn't matter. Their value is very equal to me right now. I'd probably lean towards. Oh, do not go get Spencer Dinwiddie. if he shaves his beard, maybe if he clean shaven Spencer Dinwiddie, I might welcome him back. But if you notice, like, what the heck happened to Dinwiddie? I mean, who else? There's somebody else that fell apart recently that looks like shit that just grew out all of his facial hair. And I mean, it was Spencer Dinwiddie and one other guy. And I'm like, just look at these dudes.
I'm
Like, they just
blanking.
let, oh,
Yeah, I feel like I
Jordan
know who you're
Poole,
talking about.
Jordan Poole,
Jordan Poole, man. He had like
Jordan
0
Poole.
points the other night. What the fuck?
Yeah, look good, play good, man. I mean, if these guys shave and come back, it might be reincarnated, I bet.
Bro, let me ask you this, man. Chicago. What the hell is up
All
with
right.
Chicago, man?
Let's get into the teams that lost the deadline and needed
Yeah.
to do something. Chicago,
Let's talk
first
about
one,
that.
number one. Like, one, Zach LaVine should have been gone. If you could even get a first or two, you should have done that. Like, very close to a Bradley Beal deal, but you should have been able to get a little more than Bradley
Yeah.
Beal.
Get off that contract.
Right. And if you could trade him for a first or two when he's injured, yeah, get off that contract
How
while you can. And
delusional
while Kobe
do they have
White's,
to be? Like,
what's up?
how delusional do they have to be? Like, I heard Vooch the other day say that he still believes in the core of this team, man. Like, what the hell is going on?
No, it's the fact that fans are still going to the game and they haven't boycotted this team.
It's insane.
It's ridiculous. Like, I've talked to a couple Bulls fans, and Kobe White's their shining hope. Which, kudos to Kobe White.
He's a good player,
he's
solid.
been great. Yes, he's a replacement for Zach LaVine. That's fine. But like, for him to be your ticket to watch games, to pay to go watch Kobe White, I'm sorry, not for me. I mean, I've watched a lot of these guys too, and Alex Caruso, if you could have sold high, he is never getting worth more than he is now. This is
He's
absolute
untouchable.
peak. You should have been able to get one first for him and done deal, get him out of here. That should have been a done deal. Like, the Bulls are the perfect team for Daryl Morey. I mean, if you could have got
Yeah.
Drummond, you could have got DeMar DeRozan, you could have got
Yeah.
Alex Caruso. Like, this is where Daryl Morey has struck out to make this team incrementally bigger. I mean, he struck out Damian Lillard, Drew Holiday, go down the
Yeah.
list.
So does
It's
that
not.
make the Sixers a loser as well at this trade
Oh,
deadline?
we've been talking about Daryl
Yeah.
Morey.
They're losers.
Like I said, just because I've liked most of his trades besides the Pat Beverly one doesn't mean he has done a good job. Like, I tweeted this earlier today. Daryl Morey is excellent at winning the easy deal. When,
Yeah.
like, all of his deals
That's
are
exactly what I was thinking today, man.
very
Because
easy. Go back in history.
even
There's no deal he's really won big time without overpaying or
yeah,
just
or having
drastically losing.
a connection, like the James Harden situation, right? Like he
Yeah,
had
that's
the
an easy
connection
deal.
with Harden, so that's easy, right? That's exactly what I was thinking today when this was all going
Give me a
down.
great deal he's won. Like Buddy Hield today, that was easy
Is
money.
that
I
a
mean,
win? Like it's not a win. It's more of a, cancel
it's a
each other out at the
horizontal.
most, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I look at, even if they would have been able to snag Andre Drummond today, which by all means, I think that would have been an upgrade to what they have right now playing at the big spot. But it's so predictable. Buddy Hield is such a predictable move to the point where it makes me beg the question, like, what does he do differently from the next guy? Like, okay,
Who
let's
would have
say
been better than Buddy Hield?
Chicago wants Drummond for they won 3 second-round picks for
Right.
Drummond. Like, okay, fine. You got Andre
Yeah.
Drummond. It was the obvious trade to make.
Yeah.
Like, he's not blowing my mind and coming out of the woodwork with any trades
Yeah.
that ever come
Drummond
to
does more
fruition.
than Buddy Hield right now for sure. And then like another guy that fits what the Sixers need more. It's still not a great trade, but like I would have rather had D'Angelo Russell versus um, Buddy Hield. I mean, they do the same thing. The difference is
Ball handling, though.
D'Angelo Russell, a ball handler and just playmaking and passing ability, a much better connector than Buddy Hield, even though Buddy's a little underrated in that area. But just, I mean, DeJounte Murray should have been very easy. Malcolm Brogdon would have been very easy.
Right.
And
Right.
but that's where a
Right.
lot of teams missed out on those guys too.
Bogdan,
Malcolm,
right here. Bogdan Bogdanovich
yeah,
from
there you
Atlanta.
go. Yeah,
He's another guy,
he'd been
man.
better than Buddy Hield for sure. Um, pretty equal actually.
How
Pretty
much how
equal.
much do you how much do you accredit it to, like, Morey's reputation? Like, do you think that plays a part in it at all? Like, his reputation around the league, teams not really, like, wanting, like, for example, not to take it to like football conversation, but from the Eagles fan perspective of Howie Roseman, it feels like he's gotten so many deals over the years now that teams won't work with him because they're scared that they're going to get fleeced.
He keeps
And
doing
I'm
deals
being
though.
modest
He
about it.
keeps
I'm being
doing deals.
modest. I take very high pride in Howie
I
Roseman.
think I think you can only say that about Howie Allen until he goes through a really long stretch without making a deal.
He
He
does though.
hasn't gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always finds a way so far, and teams want to work with him because he knows how to get a deal done. And if they're desperate, and he
Takes
can offer
advantage.
enough, right? And if
But
you're
that's
getting
what
the
I
best
mean. Like
player,
Maury, do you think his reputation is like that, or do you think it's just him not like thinking outside of the box?
I think he's too complacent and scared, man. I just think Daryl Morey. I mean, I truly think he's not working that hard. I really don't think like I see the deals he does, and DeJounte Murray should have been pretty easy to get done. I really
Yeah.
believe that's a deal like Tobias Harris, DeAnthony Melton in a first. Boom. Atlanta should be
Yeah.
doing that all day. Like that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
It's simple,
Um,
right?
Tobias
And
Harris for
I just
DeAndre Hunter and Bogdan Bogdanovic. Go get
it's
two
like
guys.
is Embiid coming back this season? Like from those trades?
The
Like does that
report.
signal?
I mean, if Embiid can come back and the team's in the top 7, if as long as you're in the
As
playoff
long as
hunt
you're
and he
healthy.
can, it looks to me like Daryl Morey, I mean, is clearing cap space because he believes in this offseason. But who knows?
Well,
There's
Paul
like
George is
we've
gonna
gone
move.
through all these players, man. I mean, as long as the Clippers make it deep into the second round, no way Paul George is
Paul
leaving there.
George is gonna leave LA. He's gonna leave
Yeah, yeah, his
his home
home. Yeah,
state and
to
come over
come
to
to
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. You keep dreaming, Daryl. Yeah, keep dreaming. You're back in the Ben
Like this
Simmons
is what we're getting
sweepstakes.
fed. This is what
Right.
they're feeding us today from the Sixers organization.
All
Paul
right.
George.
So we got the Bulls as losers. We got the
Yeah,
Sixers as losers. Um, let's go down the list here a little bit. Miami's a loser. They could have
Miami
done more
stayed
for
pretty
sure,
stagnant.
but they got Terry Rozier. That was a decent pickup.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That's
That
better.
counts.
Yeah, better than what the
Orlando, I think could have
got.
made a move, a consolidation move. They might have tried, but there's not much of a. It's rare they make a decent deal. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr., that Vucevic deal is aging really terribly. Wagner, and Wendell Carter Jr., and then one other piece for Vooch. That's
Yeah,
insane.
yeah. Would you have so when I look at the Orlando Magic, I feel like they need like a guard, but do you think that
Yeah.
or would you look in a different direction? Because I'm
No,
thinking
they
like
absolutely need a point guard. They,
DeJounte, maybe an option there. I don't know if you like that
Anthony
fit.
Simons would have been
Anthony
awesome.
Simons, Malcolm Brogdon. I mean,
All
if
right.
you want to try to compete this year, I don't know where they're at, as far as wanting to compete, how far they're looking to go. But there were some options to be made out there. I thought the Pelicans too, man. If they could have gotten a deal done for DeJounte and pair him with CJ McCollum, Ingram, and Zion, I thought that would have been a really good move as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a team like Houston, you could say was a loser, not so much, but Golden State, massive loser by not getting rid of Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah,
He
clearing the
played
space
good.
for Kuminga.
He played good at the right time. He's starting to play better
Yeah.
now, but it's like they're still losing, and they're so
Did you
far
see
back.
did you see Kendrick Perkins parading on ESPN how they should trade Klay Thompson right now?
I personally don't think it'd be a stupid idea.
You
I
think so?
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
I
shake
I,
things
I
up.
don't feel any indifference towards it.
I
I just thought it was interesting.
Clay's one of my favorites all time. I'm a big Stephen Clay fan, but thing is, Clay just I feel for him, man. He's going through it right now, and he needs
Yeah.
just a change of scenery. I think. I
Yeah.
mean, you
More
don't ship him
opportunity.
to you don't ship him to Detroit. You ship him
Right.
to a good situation.
Philadelphia.
But that would be a good situation, and
I'm
that's
desperate.
where I mean, the D'Anthony Melton and Tobias Harris deal benefits. I think the Warriors too. You don't do it for
Yeah,
Tobias straight up if you're the Warriors. You do that if you're the Sixers, yeah, all
yeah,
day, just based on upside and defense. But it's tricky. I mean, I think the Golden State Warriors could have used another big as well. That's why.
yeah.
But
They were looking
Lakers,
at Olynyk.
huge losers there. I mean, it seemed like they had DeJounte Murray in the bag,
Yeah,
and I think LeBron really wanted to move. I think they're jeopardizing losing him if that matters or not. Shouldn't matter a ton, I guess, because it could help get them to a higher ceiling in future. I mean, LeBron could be holding them back a tad. Crazy to think, but
yeah.
my
Do you
I'd
think
hate to
the
lose.
Do you think the Raptors are losers here? Bringing in Kelly Olynyk,
What
like,
makes you?
well, brought in Ochai Agbaji as well.
Yeah, I
I'm
love
just
Ochai.
curious your thoughts.
Yeah, I love Ochai. So I think that was a great trade, and I want them to have all the Canadians. To be honest, I think that'd be fun.
It makes
That's
sense,
why
right?
Andrew Wiggins there would be cool too.
It makes
But
sense.
I think they got some pieces now that I believe in the future of Toronto a little bit more now. I believe in Scotty. I believe in IQ, Grady Dick, Ochai. Um, just got to put it together and develop these guys. I don't know if Darko's a guy to develop. We'll see.
Yeah, we're gonna find out shortly
I'm
about
not
that.
I'm not saying Scotty's his development either. I think Scotty was going to develop on his own. I think Nurse had a big impact there. How about Sacramento?
Yeah, that's actually a team I was going down the list and I was actually stopping there because I thought that they had room that they could have upgraded, whether it's adding, a better piece off the bench, adding a big man, whatever the case may be there. I thought they could have upgraded as well. So I don't know. Didn't get Davion Mitchell. I know they were trying to move him off the team and try to get something of value back in that. Um, just didn't get better, right? And I think that's kind of the going thing for them from the offseason as well, right? They didn't get better really in the offseason. They had a great season last year, kind of a breakout season, light the beam, right? And everything was going great. And then you go into this offseason, it's like this is the year for them to kind of upgrade and get to that next level. And they just haven't taken those steps. Now, a lot of that, could be Sacramento. I don't know if that's like a coveted place to go and play. I mean, they have great fans. It's
Definitely
in a
not.
great part of the country. I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. It's a little
They don't get free
disappointing.
agency.
I don't know if they're losers because they didn't like they are losers though. Like, you know what I mean? Like they are because there are teams that did get better, even if it was just,
Right.
by a margin, right? The Phoenix Suns, they had Royce O'Neal. That's getting better. That's a player that the Sacramento Kings could have used, right? Like you look at the Mavericks, they did get better. OKC did get better. So when you look around them out there in the West, yeah, I think they actually are losers just by not getting anything done. Unless I'm forgetting something. Did they make
No,
a
they
move
didn't.
that I'm forgetting about
They
here?
didn't get. They didn't get anything done. Um, they uh,
Yeah,
they are about where they were last year. The difference is the West is better this year.
better.
Um, I just think they're the exact same team as last year. Keegan Murray's a little better. Malik Monk's maybe a little better, probably the exact same. Um, but yeah, they could have done anything. Like defense has not been addressed whatsoever there, and you can't do anything with that bad of a defense as they are. So that's a problem. Um,
Yeah,
Kings are just gonna king and be
yeah.
happy they're in the playoffs. I will say
Right.
the other last two teams I think really could have used something more. I mean, the Clippers and the Timberwolves. I really wanted to get Kyle Anderson out of there, especially after blowing that last game for us.
Yeah,
But yeah, make a trade based on one game. But I'm just is that Canadian? Basically, man, I'm from
yeah. I meant to
Minnesota.
ask. I
I
had it
mean,
up there. I meant to ask. Answer. I know you're not, but I
basically,
think
we're
it's
all, we're
funny. He
all,
lives in
we're all
Minnesota, so
Canucks
you
up in
guys
here,
love
don't you know?
you. Might hear the northern accent there, but
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I thought that as well about the Minnesota T-Wolves and the LA Clippers. It's like, yes, they're playing their top basketball right now, especially the Clippers, arguably the best team in the NBA right now. Can you add anything, right? Could you move PJ Tucker and get something in return for him, or anything? I don't know. It's hard to say, but
How do
um
you not get rid of him and Bones Highland? At least
I
attach
don't
him to
yeah, the
Bones.
Bones High. I'm glad you brought that up because that slipped my mind. Bones Highland. You're telling me there's no market for Bones Highland? There's nobody that needs a combo guard like that? Like
My
I
thing
didn't
is,
understand that either, man.
my thing is, if you're not going to play these guys, which I think you should try, because you're playing, I think you're playing the core guys a little too much yet. Harden, Kawhi, and PG at times. Um, it's working, but I mean, I'd try to go a little easier on the minutes, even
Yeah,
as low as possible. But I just think Bones still has something to give, and yeah, it should be more impactful. PJ obviously wants to play. Give him
yeah,
the shit minutes, and when you're up, try him out. Like,
yeah. See what
dust
he's
him
got
off a little
left.
bit. See if he's got some fight. But
And that's the thing.
I,
You haven't played him in a while. Maybe he's got some juice back. You never know. So,
I don't.
what about the Rockets? Did you
The
expect
Rocket.
them to do anything? Like,
No, I
did they
didn't. I
surprise you
didn't
in any
hear
way?
much. I didn't hear much about them. I mean, for many months. I mean, Steven Adams' deal was weird, but I think could help him in the future.
Yeah,
Um, I just think they're a consolidation team. I really believe that. I think a lot like the Knicks, it's hard to develop and play all these guys. And I said this before the year, like, yeah, Pat Bev for Highland, that could have been a deal. Like, and I would have liked Highland.
like that a
Um,
lot more,
yeah,
honestly.
Highland campaign isn't even close.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
flavor and just way better player and upside. And even though your cute numbers might say campaign, but those numbers lie, man. Um,
I did hear Marcus Morris got waived by the San Antonio Spurs. So
Great point. I would love to see him back in Philly.
he's eligible because he got traded from Indiana to San Antonio. He is eligible to be signed back to Philly. So
That
that
would be
is
fun
interesting. That would be fun.
because
That would be funny.
He's starting to play really good, man.
Yeah, and he does have the ties to the city. He's already got
Right.
his money. You know what I mean? Like we can bring him back on a
He's a
minimum
dog,
deal
dude.
and go after it, man. I do like that prospective idea, but yeah, man, I'm going through the last couple teams here. Like Brooklyn, like did you expect them to sell a little bit more than just Royce
They
O'Neal
should
or
have. They
yeah,
should
that's
have,
what
absolutely.
I
I
thought.
mean, Lonnie Walker should have sold high on him.
Claxton,
Claxton, I mean, I personally think the only guy they should have kept, I mean, unless they got blown away for 3+ firsts, Mikal Bridges, and Cam Thompson, if you get 2 or more firsts and a decent young player back, I would have considered that as well.
yeah,
Um, I just don't believe in anything they got going outside of those guys in their future, and
yeah.
you should start over and get as many firsts as you can get. Um, Looks like the motivation on that team and just yeah, there's nothing there. Like,
It's a
you
culture thing
need
too, right? Like the fans, all of it.
right. You got to keep going till you're either developing something special like the Rockets are doing right now, or you draft until you get something good. The only reason why the Knicks expedited it when did it without having to draft a top 3 to 5 player is because they did get lucky on Julius Randle on a really low deal.
Yeah.
Um, and they got him at the right time. And then Jalen Brunson. Um, that expedited everything. So that those things can happen. You can do it. But yeah, I think
I would say
like
the Knicks have, yeah, they put on a good model. With that being said, man, we've talked about most of the trades at the deadline so far. Um, Biggest winner and biggest loser. So we've obviously pointed out some losers, some winners. Who are your biggest of each category?
yeah, I mean if it's just today, I'd probably say the Dallas Mavericks, but the Knicks overall, just trades leading up to it with OG. So those would be my two. Biggest loser, Chicago Bulls. I mean,
Yeah, to
I've been
not get
saying that
anything.
I've been saying that team needs to blow it up for many years, and
Like, even if you
I
could
mean, at
get
least
DeMar DeRozan, like, you're telling me nobody wanted DeMar DeRozan as, like, a nice scoring option for a contending team. Maybe they give you one first-round pick. I don't know exactly
you
what
should
his
have been able
value
to get
is.
a first for DeMar, man.
Yeah.
It's
Why not? Like, I don't understand, man.
because
I
we're
don't
23 and
understand what they're doing
27
there.
and got a chance to play one extra game.
Right. That's what we're talking about here
That's
with
right.
Chicago, man.
That's
Like,
what they're
that's
playing for is
insanity.
one extra game. One extra game.
That's
Really? Is the
insanity.
revenue to 83 versus 82 games that much to just
Marshawn
sell
Lynch says
sell on
Sixers
Pat
should be in the
Williams,
hunt.
sell on IO, man. You need to keep going till you at least Charlotte has Brandon Miller, LaMelo Ball.
Yeah, they have something there to get excited about.
Chicago and Brooklyn doesn't have anything close to that.
It's Kobe White.
Not even close. And
A
then you got
solid player. He's a
Mark
solid player, but I don't understand it. Like,
LaMelo can't be your best player. Like that'll never happen. He's not a leader, but he's a foundational piece. Brandon Miller has a chance to be better, and I think he could be a good leader. But
how about Miles Bridges controlling his own destiny?
screw that guy, man.
Yeah,
Screw-
that is like the most. That's I shouldn't say the most. It's one of the most insane situations I've seen play out, and
Right?
kind of the way it's playing out. It's kind
Yeah.
of
Well,
just getting.
if
They're
somebody
trying
gets
to sweep it under the rug as much as they can. Like, just move on. Like,
Rich
you
Paul,
can't
man,
move on
dirty
from this
money,
stuff.
Rich Paul.
Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
saw your tweet. That's why I brought it up. I saw your tweet earlier about Rich Paul, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. All you need is a little bit of a network or a lot of a network, right?
Right.
But yeah, man, I would ultimately agree with you. I think the Mavericks are kind of the sleeper winner, and I would say the Knicks are kind of that front face winner. That the moves that really impressed. On the other side, I would agree. Chicago, it's what the hell are you doing? There's a couple other teams you could throw out there, but none as far stretched as Chicago is right now, and I think they are the biggest loser here. But
Just a
the
waste.
Sixers,
Just a
from my
waste. Like
perspective, yeah, my perspective, it's the Sixers. But
last
um,
loser, Portland Trailblazers. I mean, sure, you
that's
might
another
think
team.
Malcolm
Why not?
Brogdon and Jeremy Grant are leadership roles, but you don't need both of them. And you still need some more upside. It's a
Yeah,
situation. I mean, I almost think Charlotte might be in a better situation than them because Scoot and
is Simons paid?
Shaden Sharp.
Has he
Yeah,
gotten
he's
his
paid.
extension already?
He's paid, but it's not. I mean, it's not terrible. I mean,
Jeremy Grant's paid.
yeah, like
Malcolm
this team,
Brogdon's on a contract until
they've
next
been
year.
healthy enough, and the growth is just not where you'd want it to
Not
be
what you
right
want to
now.
see. No, I agree. So
Yeah, Portland,
overall,
massive
man,
loser.
to get us out of here tonight, and to kind of say goodbye to the trade deadline.
Put a bow on it.
What would you grade this trade deadline as a whole? Not one team, but the NBA as a whole. Whether it's graded by entertainment or significance of the moves, what would you grade this trade deadline, man?
I'll give it a B. Good action. I mean, a lot of moving parts and some decent pieces being moved around, but I mean, really the big things that were missing, man, was a huge headliner. I mean, like DeJounte Murray
Yeah,
would have been significant. Mikal Bridges, I
they
thought
should
there
have
was a
saved like the OG Anunoby trade for the deadline day.
nah. I've liked the Knicks' growth, and he got injured early enough where he's going to be able to get back in time. But like Tyus Jones, I mean, I would have
No
liked to see
moves
him on
there.
a contender.
Kuzma
Um,
either, right?
what's up?
They didn't move Kuzma either, so they held
Right,
on to everybody
right.
except for
One of
Gafford. They
those
did
two.
send Gafford down to Dallas, but
I mean, a lot of the guys though that I expected to be moved did. D'Angelo Russell could have got moved,
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, B minus. I mean, plenty of action. I consider like the OG being a part of this, and there's been plenty of action to go. And
Yeah, you can even go back to the Harden trade. I mean, that was in season. It
eh,
wasn't before the season
yeah,
started.
you're right.
So,
Yeah, I guess you're right. It was
yeah, it was
three
in season.
games
So, I
three
mean,
games in.
it is part of it. You can't count the Dame trade, right? That was over the
All
summer,
right.
but the Harden one you can squeeze in there. So yeah, I would probably give it about a C plus B minus type of situation. Despite the Sixers' failures, in my opinion, the other teams made some marks. There were some winners out there, so I found it pretty interesting. But
Just
that's
hate
gonna be it for
wasting
this.
Embiid.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Wasting
telling me.
Embiid.
You're telling me. And that's a great reminder. Tomorrow morning, our normal time for Phaithful Fanatics, guys, we are on the DSM Media Philadelphia channel. Tune in tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. We will be live on the DSM Media Philadelphia channel. We will be breaking this down. Me and myself, Dylan, my co-host for Phaithful Fanatics, we will be here. But for myself, for Zach, thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for everybody that commented. And we'll see you next week here on Scotty Talks NBA, man. Thanks for tuning in. Peace, everybody.